So go and do all the things that you want to do. So set me free, Stereophonics. I said, come on, pretty baby, take a chance on me. I said, shame on me, cause I didn't see that you were looking at me, baby, by the Ferris wheel.
It's quite uplifting. I think it's an optimistic record. Lots of different styles of songs. Lots of different energies on this.
Yeah, it's got a great, like, youthful energy on it, which is
great for us.
Yeah, which is good for us teenagers. Yeah.
It is quite an upbeat record. Is this the sound of a band that's kind of happy and content with where they are right now?
I think so. I think we are. You know, as a band, we all do like each other, which is rare these days. But we hang out together. We spend time apart. But when we're together, we've still got, you know, the camaraderie and the sarcasm and the piss taking, and that's important, really. So making music in this band is quite easy. You know, you bring songs into a studio and everybody jumps on board how and when they want.
I wanna get lost with you. It's the only thing I wanna do. Get out of my mind with you. So come on over.
You tend to write a lot of songs, where you used to at least. Is that still the case?
Yeah, we're quite prolific as a band. I think we try to keep the tap dripping, as they say. So, you know, if you feel the urge, then press the record button on your phone.
Does that mean there's a bit of a backlog of songs that you've written since 2013?
There was, but then they asked us for more tracks for a deluxe on iTunes, so they had an extra 7. So we thought, that's it. This whole graffiti on the tray and keep the village alive. We've emptied the bank now, so we literally do have to start again, which is a nice feeling.
So the record's called Keep the Village Alive.
Yeah.
Your early records especially reference the town you grew up in. There's an old mining town in Wales. Is it hard to keep referencing village life when your success has moved you out of it?
Yeah. I mean, Keep the Village Alive was a phrase that came about at the same time as Word Gets Around. It's actually in the sleeve notes, thanks to, and at the bottom it says Keep the Village Alive, which I'd forgotten about. And it reminded me of, it was a phrase that when me and Richard were kids and we go to the pub, and Friday night, Saturday night, people would shout out, I would drink Keep the Village Alive, and it'd be like the sentiment that was basically saying keep your spirits up. I think the villages are dying a little bit, and it doesn't have to be in Wales. I think all the small towns across the world are being a little bit trodden on. The industry gets taken out, the money goes, the community dies. So I do think people in the small towns need a bit of a spirit lifted, you know, and if these songs do that to people, because our core audience is the working man, really, a woman, you know, that's kind of who our following is. I think you can always write about what you're going through in your life. I don't think you have to necessarily be back in those shoes you were when you were 18. You know, we go through things now, but we look at them through the eyes we had from that upbringing, so it all becomes relevant, really.
So you not only wrote and produced part of this record, but you also went behind the lens for C'est La Vie for the new video.
Right then, you stay here now, nice and comfy. So we are gonna be here coming up through. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Just gonna change this tune over. Whoa, get this room going a bit, didn't it?
Was it always your intention to film more as you went on?
I see it as a different way of storytelling for me. You know, I've always liked writing short stories and screenplays, and hopefully at some point in my life maybe they'll come to pass and people will get to see some of these ideas, I don't know. But the videos, myself, Richard and Stuart from day one were always involved in doing the videos and picking directors that we liked. So for me now, I guess I'm doing like a work experience course making these videos, so if somebody gives me funding for a script I've written, then maybe they'll let me direct it. So I'm trying to get my foot in the door, learning my trade.
Now, you've had problems in the past with certain parts of the media being overly critical for various reasons. Has your relationship improved with the press at all since that time?
We've never tried to have a relationship with the press. You know, like you obviously got to use the press in with what we do, and sometimes, you know, like the reviews haven't been the kindest or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, like the reviews don't really sell your albums for you. The music on the album sells itself, and the people make up their minds.
I haven't read any reviews or read anything about our band in the press since 2001. I don't really bother reading it, but I get an inclination from the people working with us what's happening by their face. But I don't really get involved in it. I mean, the Mr. Writer thing was 5 minutes out of my life and been talked about for 15 years, so it's a strange little phenomenon, really. But it was a comment on one situation, one person. And it was relevant at the time, and it's still a powerful song now, and people... I mean, the song lasted longer than The Journalist.
The pair of you have been on tour for over 2 decades now, and you grew up very close to each other. You've been friends for a long time. What's it like being in a band and touring with someone you've known for so long?
It's very comfortable. Really.
Quite easy, really, yeah.
Because, you know, like there's a lot of things that go on which you don't really need to speak about because you're both feeling the same way and you know what's going to happen next. And
we're quite similar people, but also very different on other ways, you know. When we stop doing what we do, we're quite different people and have our own little things, but because we come from the same place, I think we know where the level or standard in the band should be without even talking about it. And whatever character comes in and out of the band, we know without even saying anything to each other if this is working or not working. And that is, you know, that's gold, really, to be able to have that relationship with somebody that you just feel what's right or wrong, you know.
Of course, you lost one of your former bandmates and an old friend of yours 5 years ago. Are there any nods to him in these latest records?
Well, that whole graffiti script and these whole bunch of songs started in the summer of 2010, and it was all after when Stuart died, really. So whether I knew it or not, C'est la vie about two guys, the whole script about two guys is definitely combinations of my character, Stuart's character, Richard's character, moulded into this idea, really, of getting out of this place and trying to find somewhere where you belong, which is what C'est la vie is, really. We don't belong there. We felt we didn't belong anywhere for never. So I would definitely say there's... And I would definitely say I think Stuart would really like Graffiti on the Train and Keep the Village Alive as albums, knowing the way that I knew what kind of music he liked. So I don't think we planned it. I don't think we really talked about it or said it, but I would definitely say there was a feeling underneath it all that was within, you know, arm's reach of his character, I guess. You know.
Last night we were in a restaurant downstairs and having a good laugh about certain stories of what Stuart was doing. And so,
he's so loud you can even hear him when he's dead, you know what I mean? That's kind of what he was like, so.
It started straight off, coming here as hell. That's his first words. We asked what it meant. He said, where you from? We told him my lot. He'd take a holiday. Is this what you want?
Now, you've collaborated with a couple of big names in the past, Tom Jones, obviously, notably. Is that something that you might look to do in the future, maybe with up-and-coming young Welsh bands?
Well, we still keep going to the older men to make us look younger, so when we have guests on stage, they have to be 60 plus, so we still look young. So it has to be someone like Ronnie Wood or Tom Jones, so we can still look like, oh, look at them, they look like kids.
You talk about growing older. One of the problems I'm having turning 30 this year is the fact that a lot of the bands I grew up with are now being called dad bands by teenagers. Is that a label you're slowly becoming comfortable with?
Well, I haven't heard that one. I haven't heard that since like the 90s when I knew the Enemy used to call certain bands dad rock, but I haven't heard that for a long time. But what is nice about our band is that the front row keeps revolving. So as long as our first, you know, 8 rows younger and younger every album we make, then I don't care if the older people are at the back. My age, older, been there since 96. It's about appealing to the new but keeping the old. As in, not old in age, but as in old fans. So it's got to go down the next generation, hasn't it?